Hey, I'm Renton Millar, head judge for World Skate for Park Skateboarding. So a few notes before I start. As usual, this is a rank order evaluation, which means every time we score, we score in relation to the ranking, and we give the skater the score to put them in the ranking spot we want them to be. That means that the scale for this exercise is valid for this exercise only. As you well know, by this stage of your judging, scores can vary from day to day or from round to round, depending on the field of skaters. On these rounds, we've spread the scoring. With more skaters, the scores may be closer. In this exercise, I'll be scoring at 2 test sets for men and 2 test sets for women. And each time we start, we'll start with the anchor scores. Just to note as well, in some formats, skaters can't get up after a bail. In this format, they could. And to note, at this level, in this format, bails are treated quite harshly. For the ease of the exercise also, we've made it so if you see someone bailing, that bail is going to count. So if someone bails at the end of the run and you're seeing it, that means that bail has counted. This original competition was held in Dubai in 2024. It had a great course, it was a lot of fun, and it allowed for some great skateboarding. Okay, let's get on with it. Now we're going to start with our men, and we're going to start with our anchors. So our first skater was Nathan Matheron. So he kind of had a good run in the works, but really 2 bails really killed it for him. He did do a kickflip frontside air, but effectively the run for someone of his standard was basically a write-off. So I gave him a 12. So next skater, anchor, we had Evan Pedroza. So he went close to making it to full time, had some positives and had some negatives. It was cool that he made a flip and a 540, but his execution was not too good. Had some repetition in there with a rock slide and a rock and roll, same kind of tricks. Lost some speed after the 540. Fronted air was small. Vert wall heel flip was cool, but it was small. And the vert volcano hip fronted air was small. It just ended with some stuff that wasn't very big in a bail. But I think it was better than Nathan for sure. I give that a 32. So next skater, anchor, we've got Hampus Winberg. So Hampus did a complete run, a fairly good run. Fronted air over the hip was great, a lot of power. So on the unfortunate side, Hampus had a lot of repetition, had a lot of backside air and nose grabs, had 2 backside airs in a row, which really isn't ideal. I mean, that's just showing repetition. 4 backside airs in total. So really repeating. Also did the backside nose grab 540 and the backside nose grab 360 over the box, which are very similar tricks. Essentially, it's the same trick done over a box as what you're doing on a quarter pipe. I mean, ultimately, judges want to see as much variety as possible. And although Hampus's run is pretty rad, he is in the area of not showing a lot of variety and, in fact, showing some repetition. Did a kickflip indie, some rotations, which is good. The front feeble really helped him as far as the use of the park and I think on difficulty. He has a lot of flow. I think he's in the area of getting to be a great run, but I think his negatives of having 4 backside airs went against him going any higher. So I had Hampus on a 77. Okay, so right now we have practice group number 1 of 2. So we're going to judge these groups separately. Our first skater in practice group number 1 is going to be John Magnuson. So John had a stay on run, not a huge amount of criteria met, not a lot of consistency throughout his run. I mean, he stayed on his board. However, the amount of things in his run, as far as consistency is like comparing milk and cream. Cream has a higher level of consistency to milk. And as far as John's run, he didn't have a lot in it. So not a lot of consistency to John's run. Some repetition in there with some backside airs and a couple of backside ollies. Judo air is also similar to a backside air. He's rewarded for staying on, but I think Evan is better. But I think John is above Nathan. So I give, as far as comparing him to the anchors, I give John a 22. So William Cortez, almost a full run, some okay use of the park, repeated backside 50-50s, backside air was small, some decent execution on a few things. I think on the whole he presented better than Evan, even though he didn't do hugely standout difficult tricks. A couple of tricks that were looking pretty good, the Andrecht and the Stale Disaster. I give William a 36. Iggy Tok. So not really any criteria met greatly on this run. Execution really low. Repetition on melons. The mellow hip frontside air was very small. There was some repetition on the frontside air. He's a little kid. It was the weakest run so far. I give that an 8. So Jake Harvey. So 2 bails really killed his run. Anytime where you're bailing a couple of times, I think, essentially it's not going to score greatly most of the time. But he did have some good stuff that was potentially looking like if he didn't bail so much, it would be looking to be in the direction of a good run. The deep end McTwist was proper. It was great. Front board execution was also very good. I mean, essentially they're both in the same spot, so there is an element of not using lots of different parts of the park to show your best tricks. But 2 good tricks nonetheless. Lost some speed after the frontside board slide. There wasn't a lot to his run. Comparing this to the rest of the field, I think there's a bit of a conundrum when scoring a run like J-Mag's versus Jake Harvey's. Jake Harvey had a couple of banger tricks. J-Mag stayed on his run. I think in one respect, Jake, if you looked at one side, Jake might skate better because he had harder tricks. But to me, when weighing up all of the criteria and the fact that John made a full run and Jake bailed twice, and both tricks that Jake did were on the same obstacle, I put Jake below John, and that's a 19 for me. Pedro Barris. Okay, so an incomplete run. Great use of the park. The 50-50 off the jump box quarter over the hip was great. Smith grind on the round wall of the volcano was good. The lean to jump box quarter was good. The downside of this run was the bail. So on his way to a really good run, on his way to the vicinity of Hampus, or even better, like when comparing him to the anchor. But with the bail, I give him a 55. Yambaha. Okay, so again, 2 bails really kill your run. Stale was nice. The mellow hip frontside alley-oop was a bit sketch, but a cool trick. To be honest, I think he's below Jake Harvey, but better than Nathan. I give that a 16. Oscar Rosenberg. So bailing with 6 seconds to go, so not ideal. A creative way to start. Doing some things that are not done by everybody. The manual was great on the vert volcano. It's a different trick, different approach to skating the park. Backside disaster revert, it's not a trick done by everyone. There was a little bit of half piping in there though. He did 3 walls back to back in the half pipe section. And he hits the rail, so he's got some good use of the park. He's hitting alternate parts of the park that not everyone's hitting. 2 frontside ollies in a row is really repetition. So a little bit of repetition in there. Couple of manuals. The bail, I would say he's better than the anchor Pedrosa, better than William Cortez, but not as good as Pedro Barros. I give him a 46. Ash Wilkins. So a good run, starts really fast. The back lip slide is nice. The Indy 360 is nice and long. Fairly good combinations. 50-50 on the rail. He's mixing up a lot of different things. So like I think the run is working pretty well. But really the bail got him. I think this is the best run so far from this heat. But I think as far as comparing him to the Anchors, Hampus run is better. I give Ash a 60. And just to note, when I'm saying that he's better than anyone else in this heat, I mean the people that have come before him. We have more skaters to come. Taj Wolfenden. Okay, so starts with a flip Indy. That's cool. Seems to struggle a bit for speed. As far as flow, execution, we need to be able to keep your speed. So that's a negative. Deep end Melon 540 is sketchy. I tell you what, it's better to land a trick sketchy than bail it. So at least, yeah, he landed it. Doesn't have a lot of power. I mean, he's doing well for his age and his size. I mean, we're not judging him for his age and his size. We're judging him against men. So that's going to, if you don't have the same amount of power as the best skaters, then you're not going to get the same benefit as what the best skaters do for having that power. Bail was really early on. He didn't get back up. Had 20 seconds remaining on his run. I think the difficulty of his tricks puts him ahead of John Magnuson's stay on run, but still only a 23. Phil Delude. Okay, so a full run, creative skating, but a bit of half piping. Channel lip slide up to the jump box platform was a creative line. Don't think I saw anyone else do that at all. Vert wall frontside disaster. Like I think he tried to grind up the side and then go up to disaster. But so it was kind of creative. Like I think if he had have executed properly on that, it could be rewarded. But I think, the way it just executed, it was just essentially a disaster up the extension. Repeated axle stalls a couple of times. So I suppose if you're going to repeat anything, probably the thing you don't want to repeat is easy tricks. So that's not good. So he made his whole run, which is good. You want to make your run opposed to not making it. I thought pound for pound, as a made run, it edged out Oski's run, who bailed with 6 seconds remaining. So with Phil Delude, I give that a 47. Okay, so CJ Hawker, another young shredder. So he's a great skating little kid, but essentially he does have a little kid style. His execution, he's a smooth skater, and I think he's going to a level at some point where he's going to make it all look great, but we're comparing him to fully grown adults and fully experienced skaters. So yeah, we would definitely have to say that, doing stuff like pushing on your knees is something that, I mean, realistically, if you're a fully grown man and you're a fully experienced skater, you don't need to be pushing on your knees. I mean, this is a really immature sort of thing to do. And this is the highest level, so we have to punish him for it. At a lower level, maybe that gets overlooked, but this is the highest level. So we have to say that. A lot of positives about his run, he's got some tricks in there. But again, his mellow hip front today was small. a lot of repetition, not great use of the park, repeated backside air variations, I think 3 or 4, some frontside grinds repeated, a lot of basics. I mean, as I said, McTwist is cool, but the trick gets let down a little bit when you have like a limited amount of variety to the run, limited amount of use of the park, limited amount of difficulty. I think, weighing up all these things, I think some of the young kids are really the people that you have to weigh up a lot of different things, because they may do a lot of difficult stuff that is positive, but then they may have the negative stuff, such as, their execution and power isn't as good, or their flow isn't as good, or use of park isn't as good. So when I put that all into my brain and think about everyone that skated before, and I think about how the others skated, I would have him above Will and below Oski. So for me, that's a 42 for CJ Hawker, who's going to be an absolute shredder when he's older. I mean, he's an absolute shredder now. Okay, so Heimana Reynolds. So Mallow hip frontside air was sick. Madonna was sick. Frontside invert was good. Eggplant execution was great also. Nose grind on the rail was cool. I like that he has some variety in his tricks. He's got hand plants and rail tricks. Traditionally in skateboarding, they're tricks that don't go together. So I like the idea of bringing these contrasting different styles of skating together in the park, which is kind of what park's about. It's about bringing a lot of different things together and skating all these obstacles and bringing some flavor. And I think Heimana's done that. He's brought variety. There's an element of difficulty in the execution of his moves. I would say on the negative side, the vert extension backside 50-50 was a bit repetitive, as there was also a 5-0 in there. It's not pure repetition, but I have to mention it. I think he is on the side of... He's on the upper end of the scale of skaters. So when they're getting to that level, you're looking to really find things to differentiate. And so when someone that's as good as Heimana does show a 50-50 and a 5-0, you're going to remember it, because when you're splitting between him and someone else, you're going to be looking for all the positives, weighing up all the positives, all the negatives to get a result. And that's definitely something that I notice when I'm judging. Leaner tail's also a little bit repetitive, as we've already seen in Madonna. And he also has an ollie to frontside grind and a frontside grind. I mean, I'm being very harsh. He's got a lot of great moves in there, but we've got to take all this on board when we're scoring. Had a bail at the end. The repetition vibes would to me explain my score. I think when I tell you my score, I think it will explain it a little bit. I think that's the second best run so far, behind Hampus, the anchor. But I don't think it hits the 70s. I think it's a 68, and really that's because of the repetition to me. Okay, so Gunjo. So a complete run. Some great moves in there with the rodeo. Don't always see that in park competitions. So bringing something that's a little bit more unique. McTwist is good, but he sketches. He has a little bit of half piping. He repeats the same backside 5-0 on the mid extension. Backside varial disaster is a bit of a unique move as well. So he has a few tricks in there that are not done by everybody. So definitely when I'm judging, someone does tricks that I don't normally see, it definitely piques my attention. I think Gunjo's run was fairly good. I would put him above Ash, as Ash bailed, but I think overall, Heimana's run was definitely better. So 62 for Gunjo. Tanikorn Wodkowski. Okay, so he had a bail at the end of his run, almost a full run. Dropped into a backside 50-50. So not starting out with the heaviest of tricks. His consistency is not, he's not thick with stuff from the start. Lost some speed at the start. Jump box Indy 3 was good. The only thing I will say is after that, he basically came out with a kick turn, which is not ideal. So, you know, like within Tannercorn's run, there was a bit of carving and easy tricks. So again, the consistency not quite there. An axle stall and a bail at the end. So, I mean, overall, I had him below John Magnuson due to the bail, kick turns and axle stall. But I will say I like seeing guys from the new developing skate countries though. So that was rad to watch Tannercorn. That was 21. Euro Nagahara. So a great run, great use of the park. So transfer was really cool. That's something that we're not really seeing anybody else do. So Euro standing out with a different way of skating the park. So use of the park is good. Good variety of tricks. Got the 540, flip tricks, lip tricks, front feeble. The Japanese skaters, some of them really curate their runs really well as far as placing, you know, a variety of tricks over a number of obstacles that are really going to showcase all of the obstacles in the park. And I will say Euro is really good at curating his runs, and I think that's the case here. So nice lines, 360 the box, consistency through the run, fairly difficult moves, very well put together run. I think that's the best run yet, and I think that's above Hampus. Above Hampus is the anchor, and that's the current highest score that we've seen so far. Hampus was, but this I put Euro at an 80. Aldo Flores. Okay, so he has a bit of a young kid style. Tricks aren't hugely advanced. So left out a trick after the jump box Malin. That's a bit of a key spot where he really had the opportunity to do something and he kind of left it out. I don't like judging people on what they're not doing, but I think, you know, when you're skating past an obstacle and not doing a trick, that is something that I notice. Unless it's for a reason. So I feel like he left something out in that spot. I think the bail really affected his run. I don't think there's a great amount of criteria met. I have him below Yamba Ha, and I have him at a 14. Omar Zarif. Okay, so I don't think a huge amount of criteria met in Omar's run. The bail cost him. I thought the frontside tail grab nose run was cool. Fairly good line, no real standout tricks. Execution, okay, nothing huge. I mean, we're talking the highest level in the world of skateboarding. So Omar's a shredder without a doubt, but we're just comparing him to the best in the world. We have to be ruthless. We've got all, you know, the best skaters in the world, you know, getting together. So we have to be very critical of everything. I think to be fair to everybody, we have to be as critical as we can to everybody. So I'm not saying he's not a great skater. I'm just, you know, just scrutinizing his run. Execution was okay, nothing huge. I did think he skated better than our last skater, Aldo, and Yamba Ha, but I thought Jake Harvey skated better overall. So an 18 for Omar Zarif. Okay, so our next skater, Damien Bramley, like African park skating pioneer, one of the first ever African park skaters. So 2 bails definitely made it hard for him to get a good score. Started with a bit of half piping, wasn't the best execution, but from a developing skating country, one of the first skaters from Africa, it's just great that he's there. I had him underneath Aldo, and I had him of a score of 13. Okay, so Guy Curry. So a lot of nuance to Guy's run. Positives, negatives, got to weigh them all up with the criteria. We're judging it against the entire criteria. So we've got the use of the park, the difficulty of the tricks, the variety of the tricks, the execution, the consistency, the flow. So we're judging on all of that. So Guy, younger skater, definitely on a upward trajectory, very, very fast. Into the 360, the box, that was good. It's a full run, so definitely rewarding him for landing a full run. I think the use of the park was low. I think the execution was low. I think the flow was low. I think in the first part of his run, he loses quite a lot of speed, and I think he's barely keeping his speed, you know. And that's a key thing. You've got to be able to keep your speed. You know, execution, flow, they're parts of the criteria. So when you have a guy that's doing rad tricks, so on one side he's racking up some points on one criteria, you also have to take into consideration the other criteria where he's not bringing the thunder. So execution wasn't great. The frontside lip slide, you know, wasn't the longest frontside lip slide. Backside tail slide was short. Between those two tricks, he was covering a lot of flat. So with use of the park, flow, I think whenever you're covering a huge amount of flat in a skate park, you're losing speed, you're losing your flow, and essentially it's not the most ideal line when you cover a lot of flat. And that's kind of what Guy did. He paid the price. He lost a lot of speed, lost a lot of flow. You can see after the back tail, he's trying to pump the flat. He's struggling for speed. And then after that, he carves the whole park to get to his trick, the body varial 540. So use of park's really about linking the things together, you know, like going from one to the other, you know, linking these obstacles and tricks together. You know, if you have to do a trick here and then you have to carve the whole park and come back to the other side, it's like you're not actually using the whole park. You're just basically using one section, but you have to use the whole park to get to it. You know what you know. Essentially, what we see is bang, 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 tricks everywhere. You know, so he didn't really have that. I mean, Guy is still at this stage. He's still learning the trade. This is like a year ago, 18 months ago, and he's even better now. But at this stage, he's still learning, you know, use of the park and just getting a handle and flow, etc. Yeah, so I think, you know, the higher level skaters are hitting every obstacle in their path, whereas Guy is just really just trying to find to get back to the spots to execute his vert tricks, which is not ideal. They're good vert tricks, but you know, to really get the most out of them, you have to be using the park as well. Kickflip Indy to mute 540 to alley-oop is a cool line, but that's only a small part of it. You know, I think, you know, he's hitting obstacle. That was good, but I think he's really got to get that through his whole run. So that's me being highly critical. I think because he has such big moves like the body varial 540 and things like that, you know, sometimes you could be mistaken being like, be dazzled by those tricks, but you have to look at the entire run and all of the criteria. Still a good run. I have him above Gunjo and below Haimana, and so I have Guy on a 63. Okay, Alex Mazzara. So a full run, fairly good use of the park. Some stock tricks done there and done pretty well, and just covering the park. So in contrast to Guy, Ali has a lot of tricks on everything that comes up in front of him. Like even like at the start of his run, you can see he just rolls in, ollies in. You know, it's just a trick everywhere. You know, he's really just trying to make the most, maximize every spot where he is. And that to me really is an element that you see in the best skaters. It's just like wherever they are, they got a trick. Doesn't matter where it is. 540 is good. No flips, so not the most maxed out run that Ali could do by any means. Transfer up the jump box quarter to backside lip and then hitting the vert volcanoes. Great use of the park. It's a unique use of the park. I think that line particularly could be one of the best uses of the park that we've seen within this group. His execution is good. I would say he's got 2 indies over the mallow hip. He's got 1 alley-oop and 1 normal. So not the exact same trick, but it's the same obstacle, same grab. There's some repetition in there, you know. So, but however, solidly good run. But I would say I think Hampus did have him, just with Hampus's consistency and maybe the difficulty. To me, when I compare Hampus and Ali, really the frontside feeble on the rail was the differentiating point, just given that Ali didn't hit the rail. So really Hampus really showed a different aspect. And not only did he just show he could hit the rail, he hit it with a fairly good trick. So I think for me on that one, I think considering all of the criteria, I think Hampus had Alessandro on that. So I give Alessandro a 75. Okay, so now we have the skaters in practice group number 2. So first skater, Harvey Campbell. So a complete run, a good run. So to be highly critical, as we often are being judges, scrutinising this to the highest possible level, we would just say that he did start with a half pipe line. Not the worst thing in the world, but we're gonna just note that. So I only hit 2 walls in the half pipe. Not the worst thing in the world, but just noticing that. So solid run, nice line around the park. The lip slide over the hip up the extension was a good use of the park. That was great. He has some mature tricks. He lacks a little power. Still a young dude, but he does have some power for a young dude, but we're judging him against the best in the world, the highest level of skating. So we definitely have to notice that he still doesn't have his full potential as far as power, or he is not as powerful as the other skaters that he's skating against. His airs aren't huge, but it is a well-curated run, like a lot of good stuff throughout, some fairly good use of the park, some fairly good consistency. And I liked his ender, the 360 Indy. Not a lot of people doing 360 tricks in the park to fakie, like where he did it. So I thought that was pretty good. I give Harvey a 64. And in the context of the first heat, if we're gonna compare him to the first heat, I don't think it was as good as Haimana's run, but I think Haimana's run was a bit more mature. I mean, he had a bail, but yeah, I think it was a better run. I think just more mature. Okay, so next skater we've got Nok Zuk Chan. Hopefully I pronounced that okay. So a bail at the end of his run. Not the strongest start to the festivities, with it starting with a kick turn. Consistency of the run down, difficulty down. There's not a lot of criteria achieved in this run. I give it a 6. Okay, so Ferdowsi Nzula, again, I hope I pronounce his name okay. So he bailed at the end of his run. He repeated backside Malin. Hitting the rail with a 50-50 is good. Unfortunately, he followed that by a kick turn, so that affects his consistency. Consistency, I always say, you compare milk and cream. Cream has much more consistency than milk. There's a lot more in it. And so if you have a run with a lot of consistency, it has a lot more in it. I think as far as this run, I don't think a huge amount of consistency. I think not a bad run from someone from a developing skate nation. I think it was better than Nok. So I give it a 20. Okay, so Dan Sabino, a full run, some good stuff in there. So some very good moves in there, some good tricks. So I've got to be completely critical, because that's what we do when we're judging. We're critical and we scrutinise this to the 10th degree. So even though someone does a great run, we're still going to look at this and just completely scrutinise it to the max. So Dan, a lot of carving to begin with. And then after his first trick, the kickflip into the fakie, I think is a good trick, but to follow it up with a fakie ollie disaster, I think it takes away from it, because essentially you've got two walls. You've got a really hard one on one side, really easy trick on the other. It really brings the consistency of the whole thing down. As far as, you got the hike, you got great stuff with the kickflip into the fakie, but you kind of want something a bit better, than a fakie rock. I think a fakie rock is essentially a really easy trick. McTwist was good, but he lost some speed on it. I really liked his McTwist. Jump box kickflip varial was also good. He lost some speed. I think at the start of his run, the kickflip into the fakie I do like. There wasn't much after it. And then the other thing as well, he carved the whole park to get to it, when essentially he probably could have just dropped in somewhere closer. So I feel like he wasted a bit of time to get to that one trick, and then he did an easier trick after it. So a good run, but they're the things that are holding him back. I think when I compare Harvey and Dan, it's two different skaters, different tricks. I like the single tricks that Dan had. I like the link together run that Harvey had. I think all in all, I think Harvey's run as a complete run was better. It had more throughout. I give Dan a 61. And comparing Dan to the last heat, I don't think he skated as good as Gunjo. I think he would have been under Gunjo if you compared against both heats. Thomas Augusto, solid shredder, really going for it with a really, really nice sort of approach and line through the park, but he bailed with 15 seconds to go. It's always going to be really hard to get a good result when you bail with so much run to go. Like effectively, when we're talking about consistency, there's nothing, zip for the last 15 seconds. So, yeah, that goes heavily against him. He executes very well. Mellon 540 was well done. Fairly good use of the park. I think at the end of the day, the bail got him. I think that's a 24 for me for Thomas Augusto. Okay, so Edward Damistoy, a great run, a lot of tricks, a lot of unique stuff, fairly good difficulty, fairly good use of the park, uses the whole park. So his line when he hits the back wall of the vert volcano with the front of it, I really like that as far as use of park. He had a lot of good stuff in his run, but I like that as a fine detail, just seeing that obstacle that no one really else hits. And it's hard to get to, and I think, most other skaters that are, it seems insignificant, it's only a frontside air, and I think a lot of skaters that are kind of new, not as experienced, would maybe look at it and go, oh, why would I waste time on a frontside air in that spot? It's just a frontside air. But it's like, it's actually not the trick, it's how you get there, how you get to that spot, and that really, really reflects on your use of the park, especially when you also do some other great moves that Edward did, like the rodeo, and he hit the rail too. So he's really giving a combination of tricks, good use of the park. I would say to be highly critical, which we have to be when we're judging at this level, I would say that he doesn't have the best amount of flow, and his execution has not been great. His tricks are really hard, but he squatted the Indy 540. I mean, it kind of sucks to be getting so to point out negatives in such a great run, but we've got to do that because that's how we get the scores. 360 to tail, 360 tail grab to fake. It was also great, original trick. I think that was a great run, and I think the best run so far. So I think I would give that a 79. In comparison to the other heat as well, and the runs that we've seen, I think that's the second best run that we've seen when I compare the other practice group. I think that's second to Euro so far. Okay, so Greg Ruhoff. Is that a Bale in there? It's got a kind of a cool approach to skating. Got some good style, some good execution, some fairly good use of the park. The front of 50-50 off the jump box quarter, I think was a good way to start. It was kind of a way to say, I'm going to kind of skate this park a little bit differently. I'm going to skate it like a park. I'm going to use the obstacles, which I like. I like that statement. Not the greatest difficulty or the height of the airs. I mean, it all counts, you know, like we're looking at the use of the park, we're looking at difficulty, we're looking at execution. So on that side, the difficulty and the height of airs wasn't huge. He had some repetition on the frontside grinds. Millar flip is good, old trick that we don't see a lot. It's kind of a cool trick. Had some half piping in there and bail with 10 seconds to go. Yeah, bailing with 10 seconds to go is not good. I give him a 29. Okay, so Jose Morales. Okay, so bail with 8 seconds remaining, which is obviously not ideal. You want to make your full run. So he didn't make a full run, so he's going to be penalised for that. Dropping into a backside kick turn is really not the best way to start your run, and he's going to be probably penalised for that. It's going to affect his consistency. He deck checked the mute. The vert volcano rocked a fake. He's not showing a great degree of difficulty. We're comparing him to the best in the world at the highest level. So obviously he's a ripper. I don't want to rip on him too hard because he's obviously a shredder, but not a great amount of difficulty. He half-piped it a bit. I thought the pivot to fakie when he sketched and bumped back into on his axle showed some skill and commitment. But at the end of the day, that's not going to be worth a lot just because it was a sketch. I mean, it's skating. We like to see people go off like that, but we can't reward something like that for judging. So all in all, I think he's under Ferdaus, and I give him a 17. Okay, so Jake Familton. So his execution really stands out. A full run, youngster. For someone his size, he has some power. It's great to watch. Good style. I don't think he has the same power as an adult. I think because he's so small, it looks like he has a lot of power for someone his size and someone so young. 2 flips, which is good. Difficulty is good. Unfortunately, no 540s. That would have helped him out, I reckon. Someone of that sort of... someone with his skills that he already has applied in this run, I feel like a 540 would have really... or some sort of banger like that. It doesn't have to be a 540, but some sort of banger like that would help him out. Started with a little bit of half piping. Mellow hip fronted ollie was great. Fronted ollie is a great trick, I think. I don't think the run was as good as Harvey's run. His run was probably more well put together than Dan's run, but I think Dan's McTwist was pretty good and pretty courageous. So I would have had Dan ahead of Jake. So I would give Jake a 59. Okay, so Rishi Shiwani. So from a developing country, young dude, not a lot of criteria met. A lot of repetition of the use of the volcano, flat wall, sort of repeated the use of the same tricks. Mallow hip early grab, not the most advanced trick. It was a full run. I think it was better than knock, so I give it a 7. Okay, so Andy McDonald, a full run. A lot of tricks, fairly good line. Did have a frontside kick turn in there and a jump box rollover. I mean, anytime we roll over the jump box, we're not doing a trick and it's essentially an obstacle, so we're sort of just rolling past it. So for me as a judge, and I'm trying to differentiate between different skaters, I definitely don't see rolling over the fun box as a positive. In fact, I'd probably see it as a negative. I don't think it's a at all fatal move. I don't think it's something that's like it's not fatal, but it's just definitely something that I noticed that is it's not positive, so it's negative. Nollie heel is quite tech for a bowl, so some positivity there. Body varial 540 is good. Given that Andy McDonald is over 50, doing a body varial 540 on concrete, like, is actually hats off to you, Andy. That is pretty rad. We don't consider the fact that he's over 50. That doesn't matter at all. That was just a reflection that I just said. It doesn't matter if you're 12 or 55. You get the same points for what you do. I just thought I'd point that out because it is quite a gnarly trick. Body varial 540 on concrete, especially for a 50-year-old or 52-year-old. Had a nice transfer to the jump box quarter, but sketched it and then had to do a rock and roll. So not ideal. I don't think that's what he meant to do. Not that that matters if he meant it or not, but it's just not, rock and roll is a pretty easy trick. Also did a kick turn on the jump box quarter. I don't think that probably was meant to be a kick turn, but it ended up being one. Not the best flow, but he had some hard tricks and put some effort into the park use. I think the difficulty on the body varial 540 and the nollie heel flip, given that he did do some fairly good use of the park and it was fairly good rounded run, I think I would put that above Harvey. I would give that a 66. Richie Bulbrook. So a full run, it's good, some good tricks in there, but now I need to be judgmental. So there's a few dead walls in there, some kick turns. He starts the run off by carving the whole rock bowl, but then when he hits the 540, he doesn't have a lot of speed, which makes me think, like, what was the utility in carving the whole skate park to get to a 540 if you weren't absolutely pumping your actual guts out to get as high as you could? I think if you're going to kind of only pump that much into the 540, there was no point in carving a whole bowl. You kind of wasted some time there. He also squats the 540, mute 360 the box, which is good. The mute 5 is good, the mute 360 is good, but they're two very similar tricks. Anyone that can do a mute 5 and you asked me what would be their go-to trick over the box if their go-to trick on the quarter pipe was a mute 5, and you said if someone's go-to is a mute 5 on a quarter, what's their go-to over a fun box? It's probably going to be a mute. So it's pretty predictable, and you're repeating the same rotation, same hand. So it might have been better to do a different grab, but that's just me being very critical, highly critical. So he also carves a mid-extension twice, could have done a trick, and then the last 15 seconds doesn't have much, which affects his consistency. He was just cruising. So all in all, when I weigh it all up against the rest of the field, I think he was ahead of Thomas Augusto and Greg Ruhoff. So I give him a 43. Okay, so Egowitz Bahuska. Hopefully I pronounced that right. So a full run, he came out strong, good use of the park, the stale 540 into the heel Indy. That's some sort of risky sort of stuff. Some variation of tricks. He lacks a bit of power, but he is pumping his absolute guts out to counteract that. But I will say you can still see that he does lack a bit of power. It's just because he's smaller. As I said before, we're comparing people to the best in the world. So, the way your execution and your flow are going to get compared to the execution of flow at the highest level in the world. So he's a youngster. We've got to be highly critical of that. The Melon 360 doesn't have a lot of flair. I think it's good, but I think a more experienced skater would maybe give it a different grab or give it some flair. He's only young. He's learning. The Mellow hit backs at ollie twice. That's some repetition, so that's going to go against him. Crooked grind on the rail is a really nice touch to end the run with. Some good use of the park. I think he also lost a little power and speed at the end of his run. So I think that's the second best run we've seen in this test set behind Eddie. I think he's a little bit undeveloped at this stage of his career. He's still a kid. So to me, that's a 70. Omar Kochalova. Okay, so the bail really killed his run. 15 seconds left. Hugely affecting your consistency, leaving, essentially 33% of your run completely dead. Nothing. So nice start with the rail. Cruisy run. Nothing standing out too much. But a satisfactory run. Really needs a banger. He is a really, really, really good skater. I think this was a throwaway run for him in the real competition. I think it was close between him and Greg Ruhoff, but I think Omar goes ahead for me just on use of the park and Ruhoff half piped a little bit. So that for me is a 27. Okay, so next skater, Noah Montegard. So a full run, a great run. So good variety and good use of the park. I like that he did a Malin 540 and then came back and crooked grinded the rail. I think, showing these two very different tricks that you don't often see together, a Malin 540 and a crooked grind on the rail. I think that's it's just showing good variety, which is a part of the criteria that we want to see. The nose grind over the love seat hip was great. And in a combo with the frontside 5-0 to crooked grind, and then the flip back lip slide was really, really good. A great combination, difficult moves and creative. Unfortunately, we had some repetition in there. We're being highly critical. It was just repeating frontside grinds, but we're talking a run that is starting to get to the higher level. And when we get into that level, we're really, really, really splitting hairs to separate people that are competitive. People that are really close, we need to consider everything to differentiate who's skating better. And unfortunately for Noah, he repeated the frontside grind. To me, that one cracks the 80s and is in the number one spot. If I say why it wasn't high, it would be the repetition. So I say that is an 81. Also, just to note, scores can vary from day to day. With the evaluation, with the rankings, I think it's we all know that one day a run can get a certain score and the next day a run can get another score. Noah's 81 is in regard to the entire field that we have here, and on another day he may well be higher. Okay, so next skater we have Noah Albrechtsen. So some good skating. I have to be hypercritical in comparing him to the best skaters. Again, the highest level. His airs start off small. He's got a few tricks in there. Frontside invert was okay. Fast plant was nice. The mellow hip slob fast plant disaster. And then the vert extension slob fast plant very shallow to deep into the deep end invert revert was a fairly creative line. I think it would be safe to say it's not really likely anybody else would do that line. I think I could possibly even say I've never seen anyone do that line in my life. It's just a lot of pretty random tricks mixed together. And in doing that, that means it's a little bit of creativity, which is the judges take on board. Whenever you're judging and you're seeing hundreds of people skate and you're seeing people do the same Melon 540, the same kickflip indie, sometimes you want to see different stuff. And Noah showed us some different stuff there. And you can stand out by doing different stuff. I I'm not saying that those tricks are harder than a kickflip Indy or a 540. I'm just saying that we see it less, so you can pique the judges' attention by doing different stuff. Sometimes it's appreciated for judges to see some different stuff. So fairly good consistency with the whole line. A lot of stuff until the very end. I would say he's above Richie due to the consistency throughout his entire run, but I don't think it was as good as Jake Familton. So I give that a 52. Corey Juno. Okay, so a full run. To me, this was fantastic. I think what he did was very technical, very advanced, and I think more advanced than what we have seen from anybody. It was definitely a lot of lip tricks, but a lot of very, very, very difficult lip tricks and a lot of variety in the lip tricks. So the deep end frontside rock slide, I think, was pure class. So as far as execution, fantastic. And a really difficult trick. A lot of flow as well. Got the cradle frontside blunt slide. It's a highly difficult trick. Very tech. So I just followed up something that was just essentially beautiful with a trick that is of high difficulty. Two tricks that are fairly difficult, fairly different. Two tricks, they're both frontside, but frontside blunt, frontside board slide, quite different. The vert volcano hip frontside ollie was great use of the park. 90-degree hip frontside ollie on vert, that's pretty good. So I think he's basically shown some execution, some style, some difficulty, and then some use of the park. So really like almost just ticking these off with these tricks. Also showing some flow. The mid extension backside tail slide was rad. Good variety of lip tricks, execution great. And we've got the mellow hip backside nose blunt revert. So we've got difficulty and variety. It's a lot of lip tricks, but it's kind of the most difficult variety. It's stuff that no one else is doing. It's great. I think to be highly critical, he's not got huge airs, or the line he does at the start covers a lot of flat. I think when you watch great skaters skate, they generally don't cover a lot of flat. You generally lose your speed. He doesn't lose speed of it, but he is linking together the most difficult tricks. So he's kind of sacrificed one thing, but brought in something better. But yeah, so no big airs or rotations. I mean, I'm being highly critical because we're comparing him to the best in the world, and as far as I know, I don't know who's coming next. Well, I do know who's coming next, but we don't know what they're going to do. They might do the most mental stuff I've ever seen, so I'm going to be highly critical to remember all of the negatives and positives, even though huge amount of positives in this run. No big airs or rotations, but I feel like he really made up for it with the difficulty and variety that he showed on the lip. But that's also why the score isn't any higher. So I give that an 83, which I believe is the best run so far. Okay, so next skater we have Isai Sakurai. So for him, basically the two bails killed it for him. Good start. I think, coming back from the bail, starting from the bottom wasn't probably the best idea. When restarting, he didn't really have enough speed, and it kind of wrecked any sort of possibility that he would come back. I'd give him a 17. Mehdi Messier. Okay, so the fast plant on the vert wall was pretty sick. I like the execution, and I like just someone that does a trick that's not done by everyone. An old school trick. I thought that was pretty cool. The bail was a bummer. He landed low on the backside air. He rolled over the jump box, which is not desirable. Got some good execution. He can do some good execution, as he showed in the fast plant, but I think overall not a high level of criteria met. At the end of the day, I have him at 15, below Jose Morales and Issy Sakurai. Okay, so we're up to our final skate up of the practice judging group, number 2, Pedro Carvalho. Okay, so full run, great moves. Mellow hip nose grab 540 was big, good execution. He's got a lot of flow, execution's good, really skates the park like a park skater, which is very, very positive. Flipped his board 3 times, which was very good. A good amount of difficulty. But I also have to notice that all of his flip grabs were grabbing either indie or frontside, which is essentially the same grab. But if you follow skateboarding, you understand that indie is only when you go backside or to fakie, and frontside's when you go frontside. You can never do a frontside indie. So he's only grabbed indie and frontside on his flips. So getting a little bit of repetition, but overall very good. I mean, in this group of skaters that he's skating against, there's not a lot of people flipping their boards so much. So he's showing a little bit more difficulty compared to everyone else when it comes to flips. The frontside 50-50 off the jump box spine shows some good use of the park. I mean, he's got speed, power, execution, difficulty. The execution is good. He goes very fast. I mean, he didn't use the rail or the vert volcano, but he made up for it in other areas. I think, when I look at this group of skaters skating, I don't think this is a final. I think this is an earlier round. Well, actually, no, it's an earlier round. Like a lot of the better skaters aren't trying their best runs. But I think as far as all the skaters that we've seen, this is the best run. So I would give that an 84. Yeah, Pedro. Okay, so that is practice judging group 2.